Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to EnergyLab's Climate Tech Charge Programme Showcase for 2026. My name's Lara Ruech, and I'm a programme lead here at EnergyLab, where I look after our early stage startup support programmes. Before we dive into the session today, I just want to acknowledge the traditional owners of the various lands that we're dialing in from today. So from EnergyLab space, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and pay my respects to the elders past, present, and emerging. So today's event is really an opportunity for you all to hear from the awesome early stage startups that we support at EnergyLab. So for a bit of context, since 2023, we've been running our Climate Tech Charge Programme, which is EnergyLab's pre-accelerated program, which provides access to 12 months of support and guidance for climate tech founders who have recently launched their startup and are looking to build market traction and become investment ready. Over the past 3 years, we've supported over 60 early stage startups to really test, iterate, and grow their vision. And today, for the first time, you'll get to hear from a selection of the most promising startups from our 2026 cohort. Each of these founders have spent the past year in a really supportive environment, focusing on stress testing and refining their solutions, while tapping into EnergyLab's network of mentors, advisors, and alumni community. A big part of what makes this programme possible are those incredible network of mentors and supporters in our community. And I know many of you from that community have joined us today. So I'd really like to take the opportunity to thank you for all of your support, in particular those who have given up their time to support the Charge programme and this particular cohort over the past year. The expert insights, the workshop sessions, the one-to-one mentorship, and all the introductions you've made and the doors that you've opened have really been invaluable to the founders in this cohort. And lastly, a thank you to all the founders. Before we get started, a really huge thank you to those in this cohort, both those that are pitching today and also the wider cohort as part of the Climate Tech Charge programme. It's really been fantastic to have you in the programme and to support you over the past year. Just go forward one. Before we kick off the pitches, I'd just like to hand over to EnergyLab CEO and Director Megan Fisher, just to give a bit more background about EnergyLab and really why the Climate Tech Charge programme is so important to the work that we do. Over to you, Megan.
Thank you so much, Lara, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm Megan Fisher, CEO and Director at EnergyLab, and it's a real pleasure to welcome you to our inaugural Climate Tech Charge Showcase. So glad this is happening. It's a real milestone event for us because it is the first time that we've put the spotlight on some of the startups that are doing this pre-seed program. So since 2017, for those of you that don't know EnergyLab, we've pursued a single clear mission to help decarbonise the planet by accelerating the growth of clean energy and climate tech startups. And this year, we've had renewables hit an all-time high, 42.7% of Australia's electricity generation. But as we race towards the target of 2030 at 82%, we can't rely on just keeping to do the same thing. Things are going to get harder for us as we get to those higher numbers. So to crack open those complex challenges that are holding us back, whether it's streamlining deployment timeframes, unlocking grid capacity, or unlocking industrial decarbonisation, we need step change. And this step change is going to come directly from the entrepreneurs, the researchers, and the early stage innovators. That's why we do this program. As a startup support organisation and a not-for-profit charity, we've made it our mission really to help build that pipeline of startups, running programs from launch all the way through to scaling internationally. The Climate Tech Charge program, as Lara mentioned, is a pre-seed program funded in partnership with the New South Wales government through their Clean Tech Ecosystem grants, and we thank them for their support. It's really purpose-built for ambitious founders who have built an MVP, proven customer interest, but they're really now facing that challenge of building market traction, of finding their first reference customers and raising their first seed capital. Supporting Charge and our other startup support programs, we have this incredible community of 333 startup alumni, 204 aspiring founders, over 450 amazing mentors, and also an angel investor platform with 240 members. And we use their collective wisdom in our ecosystem to provide those proven pathways, the expertise and the connections that they need to succeed. And we in particular love cheering for our alumni's massive milestones. with 2025 being a record-breaking year where our startup alumni raised over $348 million in equity investment. And we saw historic rounds from InfraVision securing $135 million for their Series B and Amber Electric raising $55 million. But to create the next generation of Ambers and InfraVisions, we have to get much better at supporting startups at the beginning of the pipeline. Right now in Australia, we are facing structural funding gaps at that pre-seed level and also at the growth and scale level. But most institutional venture funds are waiting until a startup is at late seed or Series A onwards to come in and support. And while our government, with their various funding mechanisms such as the CEFC, ARENA and the National Reconstruction Fund, have a massive estimated $90 billion to help us with this transition, a lot of that capital is simply not in the right form for early stage deep tech startups. And grants like the MVP program and the industry growth program are public programs, but they can be sometimes inconsistent between budget cycles. So if we want to capture true industrial sovereign capability and keep high value manufacturing jobs on our shores, we must unlock more early stage non-dilutive capital locally. The 7 startups you're about to see today are tackling some really interesting challenges. One or more of them could easily be our next star alumni, but they cannot bridge this valley of death alone. So if you're an angel investor, if you're an industry partner looking for a pilot, or if you're a mentor that can open doors, please get involved and lean in today. Thank you very much. Enjoy the pitches, and I'll hand back to Lara to introduce our first founder. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Megan, for that overview. We'll invite our first founder to the virtual stage shortly. A few quick notes on how to engage through today's session and a little bit on what to expect. So you'll hear 3-minute pitches from each of the startups showcasing today. There will be a chance to ask questions following this. So please make use of the Q&A chat box to ask your questions as we go. You can see that's already being made use of already. And we will select 1 to 2 questions from each startup to answer live. When you do submit a question, I would note that it would be very useful if you can note which startup your question applies to, just so that we can answer these as easy as possible when we get to them. If we don't get through all the questions live, our founders will jump into the chat box to answer any remaining questions. So we will get to those. And additionally, if you'd like to connect with any of the founders, we will be sharing contact details at the end of the event, so you can reach out directly also. Awesome. Let's make a start. So to kick things off, we have Nick Zenyu, who is the founder of Thermal Dawn. They are developing smart thermal storage systems for heating, cooling, and hot water. Over to you, Nick.
All right. Thank you all. I'll kick it off. So meet Mike and Kay. They live in Hawthorne in Victoria. They're trying to do the right thing. They put solar on their roof to cut their bills and their carbon footprint. But their solar generates by day when they're not at home. And when they get home at night and they need heating and cooling, their solar's gone. So they're left with 2 bad options. One is to burn gas or pay peak electricity prices, which could cost up to $2,000 a winter, plus the pollution. Or option 2 is to spend $20,000 to $30,000 on a new heat pump and a battery. Both are bad. But they're not alone. There are 4 million Australian households which have solar panels, which is the same as the entire US. But that contributes to the same broken system. The grid is flooded with cheap solar by day, and it runs short at night. So we need storage, and a lot of it. But Australia's going to be short 15,000 electricians to install it. So we thought there had to be a better way, and so we built one ourselves, a thermal storage system. We don't store electricity, we store heating, cooling, and hot water, which can cover 63% of your energy bill. The materials that we use to store heat cost 1/10 of lithium, which means we can ship for half the cost of a battery and 1/4 of the running cost of gas. Remember Mike and Kay in Hawthorne? We built a system for them, built it in Sydney, drove it all the way to Melbourne, and installed it in May. They've cut their gas line and are heading into winter cheaper, warmer, and off gas. It's live in their home collecting data right now. In the first week, it saved them $60 and 1,000 megajoules of gas, and now we're up to saving over 250 kilos of CO2. Earlier this year, this was just a prototype in our lab. We booked our first install in February, and today we've got $140,000 in booked jobs and a live system which our customer loves. I'm Nick. I'm a mechanical engineer who scaled the health tech platform to 30,000 patients as the first product hire. Linda, my wife and co-founder, has established manufacturing processes behind medical devices used in over 100 countries. We've also had a third team member join us. He's 4 months old and he's definitely not pulling his weight, but he's very cute, so we can forgive him. Here's where this goes. Today we're starting with hydronic systems, which is 100,000 homes in Victoria, with government subsidies landing in Q1 next year. But heating is just the wedge. The same box that we develop does air conditioning, hot water, and reverse cycle. That's 7 million homes across Australia that we can reach with that. And every unit that we ship is a thermal battery on the grid. Aggregate them, and we're not just selling hardware, we're a distributed storage platform for every renewable economy on Earth. We're busy shipping units for winter and raising a small round now to support fulfillment, and then we're raising a seed round timed for the subsidy launch next year. Scan the QR code to join our product waitlist, and if you invest, come and have a chat. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Nick. That was amazing. We have a few questions in the chat. So let's see. For Thermal Dawn, where is the manufacturing located, Nick, in terms of what you're building?
So we've just yesterday signed a 130 meter squared facility up in Hornsby, and we're moving in this week. So we manufacture the thermal storage here in Sydney and import various components as well.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Nick. And another question. Can you tell us a bit more about how this solution is competitive with the solar and battery alternatives?
I mean, we definitely don't see it as necessarily competitive with batteries. First of all, it's a lower cost way to add kilowatt hours to your total home's storage, shipping for about half the cost per kilowatt hour. But absolutely, it can be used to pair with a battery. Battery can run the lights, different appliances. But what we focus on is making sure that the biggest loads in the household, the hot water and the heating and cooling, don't consume all of the battery within very short period of time.
Awesome. Thanks, Nick. And we have one more question. Can you talk a little bit more about your IP portfolio?
Yeah, sure. So the IP portfolio really comes in the second phase when we're reaching into reverse cycle cooling systems, because those use refrigerant. The hydronic go-to-market strategy was really around just getting a product into market as quick as we can. And then our IP, which we'll be planning on filing towards the end of this year, is around how the heat exchange happens between the thermal storage and the refrigerant loops in the home.
Thank you, Nick. We've got lots and lots of questions waiting for you in the chat, so I'll let you pop in and answer those, and we'll introduce our next founder. Thanks so much, Nick.
Thank you.
Moving on to our next founder, we've got Shell Norris, who's the CEO and founder of Found Power, and they are developing solutions to drive the travel industry away from fossil fuels. Over to you, Shell.
Hi, I'm Shell, founder and CEO of Found Power, and road tripping in a camper van is what I love more than anything in the world. But I'm not alone. Every year, 100 million people take road trips, producing billions of tons of CO2, and less than 1% of those trips happen in an EV. When I was looking to hire a camper van to explore Australia, every camper van I looked at was diesel. That creates a problem for travellers who want a more sustainable, affordable way to explore the country. Found Power solves this by building electric camper vans and renting them out for road trips. EVs are quieter, cheaper to run, and better for the environment and the experience of those hiring them. EV camper vans like our prototype Sage, pictured here, will fly past the diesel vehicles on a hill. What makes us different is that we're not simply electrifying a vehicle. Our vehicles use an innovative piece of technology called vehicle to grid, or V2G. Well, let's start with what's V2G. When an electric vehicle is parked and plugged in, it can sell its stored power back to the electricity grid. The grid pays for that power, and we pass that money straight on to our customers via this app. Think about the Woolworths campaign, giving 5 cents off per litre of fuel. It was one of the most successful promotions in Australian retail history. People changed where they shop for as little as 5 cents. Now imagine getting $1 back just for parking your camper van overnight. That is what we're building towards. Our core business model is an EV camper van rental business, but we also see a huge opportunity as vehicle-to-grid standards are changing globally right now, which means for the first time, EVs can sell power back to the grid at scale. We are building the first camper van rental fleet that doesn't just avoid emissions, they generate income while parked. Globally, this is a $60 billion opportunity, and here in Australia, where we're starting, it's a $12 billion market. We are targeting $1 million of revenue in 2 short years from hiring our camper vans, which is less than 1% of the market in Australia. Imagine what we could do on a global scale. We have our first paying customer before we've even launched, a completed feasibility study with our Melbourne-based engineering partners, have commenced a research project with the University of Newcastle in partnership with the Trailblazer for Recycling and Clean Energy, or TRACE, and we have our first prototype called Sage, which you saw earlier. We're on the hunt for our production-ready prototype. Her name's Hazel. And in the last few months alone, we've submitted for over $2 million of non-dilutive grant funding. We've just opened up our pre-seed round and have early interest from 2 angel syndicates. Today, we're looking for a lead investor to help us build the future of road trips. Any questions?
Awesome. Thank you so much, Shell. Let's just go into the chat and take a look at the questions. 2 seconds. We don't have any in the chat, but I've got a question for you, Shell. What are the other camper van rental companies currently doing in this space, and how do you see yourself competing with them?
Yeah, so the majority of our competitors have diesel fleets. Juicy launched a EV fleet in 2018, but that was before the distribution of charging infrastructure was available, and their range in their vehicles was quite small. But we're seeing in the retail market, so like caravan shows, they've just launched EV models of most of the large camper vans available. So we're really seeing that growth in this space, and we're ahead of it. And our point of difference is that V2G component too.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Shell. And thank you for pointing me to the Q&A. There's one more question in there from Ken. What does it cost to convert a diesel or petrol camper van at present?
So there's different costs per prototype versus at scale. And we see a huge decrease in the cost at scale. At scale, it's about 70,000. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. And just a reminder to the audience, there's a chat box and a Q&A. So if you can pop your questions in the Q&A, that would be fantastic. We've got one more for you, Shell. If you sell the power to the grid overnight, what do you get to the power to drive the next day?
Yeah, so we have technology within our application and vehicles that enable it only to go to a certain level of charge when you're discharging. And the advantage of a camper van is you're traveling throughout the day and you're normally parked from about 2 p.m. and then you leave the caravan park at 10 a.m. and you're also there for a number of days. So you have this quite large opportunity to discharge high windows, but you can opt in or out. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Shell. We've got a few more questions in there for you, so do go in and find those and answer those. But we'll move on to the next startup, which is Square by Square. So we've got Henk Kleinhans and Emily Juncker, who are co-founders of Square by Square, and they are working to enable anyone to own and protect tiny squares of conservation land. Over to you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, hi. We are Hank and Emily, and we keep rainforests out of the hands of destructive industries. So the best way to protect nature is to buy it, but it's too expensive and complex for most of us. The second best thing is to make a donation to a charity that buys nature. However, people spend more money on buying consumer goods than making donations. So the result? Even though half of our economy depends on nature, it does not get the funding it needs. But what if buying the Amazon was as easy as buying from Amazon. We make it simple and affordable to own and protect conservation land. We start by securing at-risk land with conservation societies, fractionalize it into thousands of tiny, affordable squares, which anyone can buy for themselves or as a gift. Square holders can name their square and see exactly where it is. They receive a certificate that shows their impact, such as CO2 captured and wildlife protected.
We already have more than 800 customers from 37 countries and have grown our quarterly revenue 50-fold since 12 months ago. We have projects lined up with conservation societies from across 6 continents. A square is small enough to buy, it's meaningful enough to gift, and it's flexible enough to plug into any distribution system, for example, when booking your next flight. More distribution means more protectors buying more squares, which attracts more conservation partners. And because our conservation partners can join without tech setup or the marketing burden, we can scale at the speed of desire. I've led product at Qantas Loyalty and scaled major platforms, while Emily built a startup to $1.5 million in revenue while still a student. We are the team to build this because we know how to make protecting nature as easy, scalable, and desirable as buying consumer goods online. Join our mission to protect nature square by square.
Oh, and one more thing. You can win a square yourself and protect beautiful rainforests in Australia if you post about us on LinkedIn.
Just tag us, find us, tag us, and we'll see your post. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Hank. Thank you, Emily. We've got lots of questions popping into the chat. So the first one is from Ken Fullerton. Are you aware of the Ecosia search engine and how internet searches are helping raise funds to protect and restore forests? And do you have any contact with them?
We do not have contact with them. We are aware of them. Our focus very much in general has been on protecting nature that exists. So even though in Australia, I think last stat, we were planting 1 billion trees in a year, but we cut down 9 billion. So key focus for us is land that's at risk of being bulldozed and making sure that we put a economic model in place that actually makes it more attractive to protect it than cutting it down for short-term gain.
Awesome, thank you. We have one more question. Can you visit your square? Real world.
Yeah, that's a good question. I actually get it a lot. So we could arrange something with the Conservation Society. However, you know, it's rainforest. So unless you're Tarzan, it might be a bit hard to get to your exact square, but you definitely know where it is and you can visit the Conservation Society that takes care of it.
Awesome. There's again lots of questions for you in the chat and the Q&A, so do take a look and answer those questions. Thanks, Emily and Hank. Moving on to our next startup, we've got Chris Mohan, who's the founder of Environmental Solar Recycling Australia, and they're developing end-of-life solar panel recycling solutions for the residential sector. Over to you, Chris.
All right. So I'm going to take you on a journey, climate-themed, waste-heavy journey. Imagine you are a regional installer of solar, and at the end of the day, you've got 20 panels, or at the end of the week, you've got 20 panels, and you need to dispose of those panels. That might be because of age, because of damage, because of old tech. It could be a number of reasons. This year, those 20 panels are part of a total of 5 million decommissioned panels in Australia. So off you go. You take your trailer, you've got to the tip, you've got the cost, you've got the time, you've got the energy. That itself is a burden. Fast forward to 2030 and the same thing. However, those 20 panels are now part of 50 million decommissioned panels, and the tip is no longer accepting them, and you wish there was an easier way. So that's where we come in. We've created Flow by Ezra, which is a collection, routing, tracking, and compliance platform. The platform takes away the pain from installers to utility solar and asset holders. We take the panels to our regional recovery hub where we can triage them and we can either reuse them or um, recover that material. Um, the timing is now. We've got the National Solar Panel Recycling Pilot through the federal government, and West Australia just last week announcing that they have a similar program with 30,000 systems installed per month, and that number is growing. So there is no slowing down the amount of panels that are going onto roofs. We need to have a process in place for when those panels come off those roofs. Um, this is our traction. I'm personally super proud of how much traction we have got in this space, mainly through the Wingecarribee Shire Council, which is our local council here in Bowral in regional New South Wales. We have a huge amount of interest from the Bega Circular Valley on the far south coast, and the Smart Energy Council has been imperative in keeping us pushing forward and finding new leads. Our primary revenue stream is more than material recovery. We've got the software, we've got the data. It's about getting all of that information that will give us the revenue. And then we've got our team. Me as Chris, I am a serial founder, and this is my Super Bowl. This is everything. This is my forever job. We've got Rob, who's currently at Fortescue. He is in technology, logistics, and has robotics background. And we've got Ali, who is an international marketing and public relations expert. And a lot of this is about the message. So how we get this message out to the people. We then move into our ask. We're asking for $1 million for 18 months runway and a full collection rollout. Thank you. And if you have any questions, please get in touch.
Amazing. Well done, Chris. We've got lots of questions coming in. The
Cool.
first one for you is, what is your point of difference to other solar recycling businesses which have struggled despite the growing number of panels to recycle and the demand?
They're not collecting. They don't want to collect. The collection is hard. It's not fun. It's not pretty. It's not a beautiful recycling. It's logistics. It's dull. It's about reaching out and it's about actually getting there and doing the work. It's about changing the way people get rid of, dispose of their panels. So that's a huge part of our business is the collection.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Chris. And I guess you had your slide with all the different partnerships that you've had. Can you tell me a bit more about your current partnerships and what you're building with them?
So we had 5 installers sign up without any reach out from us. They found us and they said we want to change what we're doing. We want to be there for when this all blows up, which was really cool. So they're jumping on board without us reaching out. So now that we can reach out, we'll be better for it.
Amazing. Thanks, Chris. And then one more question from Lee. Please, did you say that from day one you would be logging and installing the panels and logging their whole life?
Once we collect them, if we collect them through our platform, you'll get tracking notifications and a full traceability theme until those panels are recycled. We currently have an agreement where we can recycle without our own process. We go through Victoria, and that sort of de-risks our whole collection program moving forward until we can open our first recycling facility, ideally by
Awesome.
the end of the year.
Amazing. Thank you, Chris.
Cool.
We've got one more question that's just come in, and we've got a bit of time. So
Yeah.
are you looking to partner with the government during the solar recycling programs?
Yes, ideally we will be running 2 or 3 of they've mentioned 100 hubs Australia wide. We want 2 or 3 of them in New South Wales, mainly Bowral, one in Bega, and ideally one north of Sydney. Really concentrating on regional New South Wales to start off with, before moving into state.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris. You've got more questions coming in, so I'll leave you to answer those in the Q&A.
Cool.
But thanks again, and we'll move on to our next startup, which is Surya. So we've got Jenna Connellan, who's the CEO and co-founder of Surya, joining us. They're developing a digital solution to accelerate utility scale solar construction. Over to you, Jenna.
Thanks so much, Lara. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Amazing. All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Jenna Connellan, CEO and co-founder of Surya, which means sun. I have my sons in my ear today. Let me take you to a large solar construction site on a Tuesday afternoon. A site foreman has just finished installing some trackers with their crew in a few hours, but now they're stuck. They're chasing approvals and progress reports across emails, paper forms, and multiple software tools that do not talk to each other. The crew is standing around waiting while the back office staff works late to process all these reports. The timelines slip, and somehow the foreman is always the one that gets blamed. Solar installation itself is fast, but everything around it is slow, and that's the problem. As an electrical engineer myself, with the borderline potentially unhealthy obsession with solar, I know solar is the fastest path to scaling clean energy, especially with rising demand from data centers and electrification. We don't just need more megawatts, we need to build them faster. And keeping track of things like people, progress, and parts across sites that can span in excess of 40 square kilometers is incredibly complex. That is where Surya comes in. We put a single app in the hands of every solar site foreman, replacing clipboards, spreadsheets, and disconnected tools. On site, it's simple. A solar foreman basically uses the interactive map to log progress of an activity in the day and takes a photo. Surya instantly checks it against specifications, updates inventory, and pushes progress to stakeholders in real time. No manual reporting, no idle crews, and what used to take days now takes minutes, keeping projects moving. And it works. We've seen that up to 700K can be saved on a 300 megawatt project, which is a 9 times ROI across our customers. We've already deployed Surya across 20 projects in Australia, New Zealand, and Germany, and our customers keep coming back. Our app is configurable enough to translate across regions and different construction teams without needing us to do any back-end changes. Today, we generate about $100,000 in ARR, but we're just scratching the surface, because behind every solar farm is a $500 billion construction industry running on inefficient workflows, and a $500 million to $1 billion software opportunity to fix it. As solar scales globally, we're building the platform that scales with it, starting with solar construction, but expanding into adjacent workflows like DC systems and battery storage, where the same crews and sites build a single source of truth across the entire project lifecycle. Every project we digitize strengthens our platform through better data, deeper integrations, and stronger customer relationships. We've really seen that business breeds business. Our team brings specific solar site and big data experience. We were the guys on the ground when the crew sat idle because lots of systems didn't connect and projects slipped. That's why we built Surya, a system shaped by real field experience with proprietary data that's hard to replicate. Today, we're asking for $250,000 to expand into Europe and the Americas, and asking for introductions to interested construction stakeholders in these regions, because the future of energy isn't just about better hardware, it's about building it better. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Jenna. That was amazing. We've got a few questions coming in for you. The first question is from Yvonne, who asks, what does this mean for the audit trail or sign-offs when it is a robot updating the progress? What if it updates incorrectly?
I love this question as well, especially because everybody says yes, but then, we're jumping into robots, we're jumping into automation. And if you've seen what I've seen on sites, it's that we're excited for robots, we're not ready for robots. Somebody really needs to build the digital foundation to enable robots, and that's what we're doing. We're basically structuring all the information and all these data flows and where materials are and where people are and what progress is, so that ultimately one day, the future of generations, whether that's Gen Alpha, who only really works on digital applications, or robots, can build solar farms even faster.
Awesome. Thank you, Jenna. Another question is that you mentioned you're working across different geographies. Can you tell me a bit about how your platform might need to adapt across those geographies, or is it able to just slip in?
It's pretty much able to just slip in because building solar is pretty consistent internationally, favorably for us. The only thing which we're busy working on at the moment is language. I have been in a situation before where there are certain words that don't quite translate to what you think they should translate, and it becomes quite a funny interaction with people on site because you're asking people to move underpants from one side to another. But anyway, and so that's fortunately for us. So we think that expansion into other regions, which is why we're targeting that with our raise, should be fairly straightforward.
Amazing. Thanks, Jenna. And then one more question that's just popped in from Ken is, why are you expanding into Europe and the States at this stage when there's a huge amount of solar development in Australia and New Zealand?
I appreciate that as well. And I always love this perspective of Australians, proudly Australian. Our market is quite small here, as much as we're absolutely exploding. And you've heard from some of the previous presenters today that solar in this country is prolific. On a utility scale, it just doesn't compare to the size of that in Europe, even though they don't have much sun, and certainly the promised land, which is America. So it's a game of numbers for us as a digital platform scale up, which is why we're targeting those bigger regions.
Awesome. Thanks, Jenna. I think there's a few other questions in the chat, like the others, so do go in and take a look at those. And we'll hand it over to the next startup, which is Alpine Energy. So we've got Mark Wex joining us, who's the managing director and founder of Alpine Energy, and they are developing a vehicle-to-vehicle electric charger. Over to you, Mark.
Future of mobile EV charging. The problem, EV ownership is defined by range anxiety. Let's picture this. You're going on a family holiday to the snow and your EV battery goes flat. What do you do? Well, the current solution is a tow truck. You need to be towed to the closest EV charger. Well, the demand is undefinable. Australian EV market has just hit 20%. The price of fuel has also accelerated this. And the coverage of EV chargers is considerably low in rural towns around Australia. So talking about the solution, well, Alpine Energy has developed the MGen M40. It is a mobile charger that comes to you. Simply put, we have a mobile charger which is mounted in the back of a ute, as shown on the screen here, that you can drive to any location and charge an EV. We believe that this will increase, so it will be up to 4 times faster for the user experience if an EV battery goes flat. So what can we do? A 15-minute charge will simply give you 65 kilometers of range. It's Australian made. It's intrinsically safe. So we utilize the battery of our existing vehicle. We don't have an external battery. We utilize 4G and satellite communications. We have an enterprise solution, but most important is innovation. Our innovation, with innovation, we have proprietary hardware, software, and our system is patent pending. Demand is outpacing the current EV charging infrastructure. We see that there is room for our solution in remote sites, emergency relief, roadside assist, and towing. Batteries on wheels are here. Let's realize the potential. The landscape. So traditionally, there was a solution for a powerful mobile charging unit, but it wasn't agile, or the other way around. So our solution is powerful and it's agile and it is safe. This is truly a game changer. About our team, I'm the founder and managing director. I definitely have runs on the board for enabling technologies. I've delivered world-class solutions, being the first person to install utility-backed a battery on a power pole. This was ARENA funded. And I've got a super duper advisory board that sits behind me that is helping develop our product. The business model is quite simple. We have a one-time cost for our hardware, and then we have recurring revenue, which is done per charge. So simply put, we have a recurring revenue model after the sale of our goods. We've had fantastic progress to date. Just to highlight a few, is we've established a stationary charging station in Oxley in regional Victoria. We have a memorandum of understanding with tier one suppliers, so Exor and Ampinext. We are Australian made. Our pre-seed round is opening soon. We're looking for ISO 27001 compliance towards the end of the year. And we've definitely had a lot of interest in the export market and also our market in Australia. Our ask is we're looking for pre-seed funding of $3 million. This will be used for unit deployment, market activation, product development, and hiring a team. But if I can emphasize one point, we're looking for partnerships, and Australia can lead the way in this transition. So let's talk. I leave you with think of the tow truck, the oh no moment, and then imagine the solution, mobile charging. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mark. We've got, again, lots of questions coming in through the chat, so I'll just pick them out for you. From Jared, we've got how many utes are needed in order to be a legitimate solution for callouts?
We're currently working with Roadside Assist, a very prominent company, which will do our first pilot, and also with tow truck companies. So it's about a deployment at scale. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Mark. Another question that we've got is what kind of partnerships are you looking for?
So we're looking for extended partnerships in roadside assist, towing, and in mining. We're also looking for university collaboration, which we have started collaborating with universities. We've applied for ARENA funding, so we're at expression of interest. So we're looking for grant opportunities as well. And we're looking for investors that become partners as well, that can unlock market potential.
Amazing. Thanks, Mark. And then one final question from Yazid is, are the customers electric vehicle rescue service providers? What is the reason for the recurring revenue subscription?
Sure. So it's a peace of mind subscription model. So for roadside assist, they have a yearly membership, and then if the services are required, then they get priority. We also have automated payment gateways. So our technology stack not only is hardware, it is software as well.
Amazing. Thanks, Mark. Again, there's lots more questions in the chat, so do take a look and answer those when you get a minute. And finally, we're moving on to our final startup of the session today, which is Air2Energy. We've got Andrew Smithyman joining us today, who's the co-founder of Air2Energy, and they're developing a solution to turn pollution into power.
That's good there. Hi, I'm Andrew, co-founder of Air2Energy, and we're turning pollution into power. In Australia, there are over 1,470 industrial boilers. They're in nearly every single building. Boilers burn gas to produce heat. They produce 12 tons of CO2 a day, and they last for 30 years. They can't be turned off, and electrification is near impossible. For many buildings, they're the last remaining Scope 1 emission. Our patented technology at Air2Energy solves this problem. Our system is retrofitted to the exhaust of the boiler. A membrane filters the CO2, and through an electrochemical reaction, the CO2 is utilized to produce electricity. This is the perfect market for Air2Energy to dominate, as we have the ability to generate massive impact. 1,470 boilers represents a $140 million market opportunity. We're not targeting this entire market initially. Our go-to-market focuses on Sydney and Melbourne. We believe over the next 5 years, we can obtain $7.2 million through the sale of 72 systems, and we're making great progress. During this program, we've built and developed a prototype, expanded our team, filed a provisional patent, and conducted extensive market research. And in 4 weeks' time, we'll be running a field test of our prototype on our university's roof, connecting directly to the boiler exhaust system. This system install will allow us to obtain key data, demonstrate our technology to our key technical members, and also form the backbone of our pilot next year. Our business model is built around our customer. With a boiler lifetime of 30 years and a payback of 8, we can provide significant value. reducing their Scope 1 emissions and their power bills. We're not asking our customers to sacrifice profitability for sustainability. We're showing them that sustainability can be the margin. We're a young founding team. Kira leads the technical development, Georgia supports product design, and I lead the commercial aspect. We've also surrounded ourselves with expert advisors. Our mission at Air Energy is simple: make decarbonization profitable. The world needs a solution that works with existing infrastructure, a solution that isn't 10 years away. Our next step is to run a pilot. And to do so, we're seeking to raise $250,000, opening in August. If this excites you and you want to support our mission, please come and have a chat. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you, Andrew.
Perfect.
We've got a few questions coming in. So from David, what incentives do owners of gas boilers have to spend 1 million on your system?
So they wouldn't be spending $1 million on our system, but incentive-wise, so we reduce their Scope 1 emissions. So the target market we showed you there is these neighbor buildings, so like a neighbor's rating. So we're seeking to basically target these buildings that already have sustainability as a forefront. The energy we produce is fed back into the facility itself, so that reduces their overall power bills. And we're also looking at carbon credits. So off the back of the generation, small scale generation carbon credits could provide additional financial incentive.
Awesome. Thank you, Andrew. We've got another question from Lucinda, who's asking, what scale have you tested the process and for how long?
Yeah, so we are quite early in our testing, to be fully honest. So what we've got currently is basically just a lab scale prototype off the back of a petrol generator, doing about between 10 and 30 minute runs. In about 4 weeks, or just under it now, we'll be doing it off a massive gas boiler, which will significantly boost our viability and allow us to do long testing cycles to understand the membrane life. That's coming soon.
Awesome. That's great to hear. Thanks, Andrew. And then one last question from Frida is, what is the revenue stream and what are you actually selling as a product? Who will be your biggest customer groups?
Great question, because I couldn't fit it in there, but we're basically selling the system. So currently the business model is selling the system to these large neighbor buildings. The thing with our technology is it's just so wide in the number of applications it has. We start off with large combustion assets like marine, mining, and then boilers. And when you look at boilers, you have manufacturing boilers, but we think that this commercial building space is the best for us just due to the emissions profile and the ongoing need to reduce their CO2.
Awesome. Thank you, Andrew. Again, lots of questions for you in the chat, so I encourage you to go in there and take a look. But yeah, that takes us to the end of the startups that are pitching today. So yeah, first of all, a huge well done to all the founders. It's not easy to get up there, and it's been really great to hear the breadth of the climate problems that you're looking to solve today. So if you were impressed with any of the startups today, a bit on how to stay in touch, whether that's through introductions, connections, maybe potential partnerships, or potential investment, we really do encourage you to reach out. So you can scan the QR code on this screen for access to an overview of the startups showcasing today and their contact details. This is also going to be sent out to all the attendees for anyone who misses this code, but I will just leave it up there for a quick second so you can capture that. And then moving on, for the startups in the audience, which I know there are a few of, we're always open to hearing from you startups and hearing from you and supporting you. So if you're early in your journey and you're really looking for some dedicated support to grow your startup, or looking for one-to-one mentorship from experts, or looking to join a co-working space to meet like-minded founders at a similar stage to you, our applications are currently open for this charge program for our July intake. So we'd really love to see you apply. Again, you can scan this QR code to find out more, and the website's also just there at the bottom. Again, I will send this out by email following today's session, but we'd love to hear from you. And finally, just to wrap up the session, thank you to everyone on the call for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure to showcase our Climate Tech Charge founders with you for the first time today. I hope you've enjoyed the session. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to the team at EnergyLab. And thanks again, and enjoy the rest of your day.